The word hospitality in the New Testament is philoxenion in Greek. It's a compound word. Philo means love, and xenos means stranger or foreigner. Hospitality is the exact opposite of xenophobia. It is the love of a stranger, not the fear or the hate, the love of a stranger, the welcome of all as a guest. Henry Nouwen defined hospitality as the creation of a free space where the stranger can enter and become a friend instead of an enemy. Rosaria Butterfield as turning strangers into neighbors and neighbors into family. I would define it as expressing the welcome of God the Father to all through tangible acts of love, namely through giving food, shelter, and relationship. As followers of Jesus, we are invited to continue what Jesus started. In fact, a stronger word there is we are actually commanded to continue what Jesus started. Romans chapter 12, verse 13, here's one example. Practice hospitality. Notice that is a command. The word practice there is diakonates. One lexicon defines it as, quote, to do something with intense effort and with a definite purpose or goal. That's how we are to approach hospitality. It can be translated, be eager to show hospitality, not begrudging. 1 Peter 4, verse 8, above all, love each other deeply because love covers over a multitude of sins. Beautiful idea. How do we do that? Quote, offer hospitality to one another. Here's for all of us introverts and neat freaks, without grumbling. Some of you don't need to hear that. Others of us do, right? Without grumbling. Hebrews 13, verse 22, keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters, as family. Love that sentiment. How? Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. For by doing so, some people have shown hospitalities to angels without knowing it. Whoa, wow. Over and over, we are commanded to practice hospitality, to follow Jesus' example, to open our home or our apartment or go to a tent in the city at our invitation and sit down and welcome people that are not like us. My favorite book on hospitality is by Rosaria Butterfield. It's called The Gospel Comes with a House Key. Butterfield was a lesbian lit professor at Syracuse University under tenure whose specialty was postmodern critical theory. She was writing a book basically about how Bible-believing Christians are the worst and the source of all patriarchy and all sorts of other things. And in order to write this book, she had to actually do research, and she had to actually spend some time with these Bible-believing Christians that she had grown to hate. And so she wrote a very angry kind of op-ed, this was many years ago, against a movement called Promise Keepers, which was kind of a Christian men's thing back in the day. And a local pastor reached out and very gently said, I read your article. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We'd love to have you over for dinner. And so she had to do some research anyway, so she said yes, and you can read her stuff. She has also a memoir that's beautiful. She just began to come over to their house on a regular basis and found their life and their family and their faith to be more compelling than anything she had ever come to experience. Over time, through that process, she became a follower of Jesus. She's now a brilliant writer, as well as a foster parent, homeschool mom, and wife to a Presbyterian pastor. It's a true story. And her basic case is that the LGBT community does a way better job at welcoming strangers than the church. And that we need to recapture this ancient practice as our heritage and not a fringe idea for extroverted people with a nice home who like to entertain, but as core to following Jesus. I don't care if you're single and you live in a college dorm room, we find a way to embody this. I don't care how introverted I am, this is just way of Jesus stuff. This is core. She writes, radically ordinary hospitality. Those who live it see strangers as neighbors and neighbors as family of God. They recoil at reducing a person to a category or a label. They see God's image reflected in the eyes of every human being on earth. Those who live out radically ordinary hospitality see their homes not as theirs at all, but as God's gift to use for the furtherance of his kingdom. They open doors. They seek out the underprivileged. They know that the gospel comes with a house key.